One of the things we thought was important to do is to actually connect you to the programs. We have an all-star lineup here today, and so I think it's going to be a great discussion. Just a quick reminder, all of these programs, with the exception of Jill's, was funded back in October 2015 as we launched the Healthy Food Fund, with the goal being increasing access to fresh, healthy local food for families and communities. And they're doing this primarily through food production and distribution programs and efforts. So you'll hear more about that momentarily.
The program that the foundation funded at Wolf's Neck is called our Teen Ag program, and it started about 5 years ago, and it kind of has a dual purpose. One is to provide a sustainable agriculture immersion experience for a group of area teens, and then to use the yield from their time on the farm producing fruits and vegetables and donate a large portion of those to area food pantries. And so the opportunity came along with Harvard Pilgrim, I think, just at the right time. The program was in its 4th year and really poised, I think, for growth. And one of the things that we're always looking at with this program is making sure that we have a deep impact where we can and having a broad impact where we can. And so the broad impact is we kind of measure that in pounds of food that we donate to area food pantries. And the deeper impact is the impact that we have on the area teens who come and work. For some of them, it's their first work experience. It's their first meaningful touch point with the food system. And certainly for all of them, it's their first time working on a farm. And in 2014, one of the young women that we hired actually ended up kind of crossing over in a way that we hadn't seen before. And so she came from a single parent home where they got their food from a food pantry. And so with this young woman, we have seen her have new access to food in a way that she hadn't before, and also kind of see that cycle of producing food and getting it from the area food pantry, all kind of within one person and one being.
How are we going to make fresh, healthy, local food affordable to all people of all incomes in all the towns of the Seacoast, and also afford to pay farmers a living, dignified, and still very, very modest wage? It's a wicked problem. And also on a micro level, I make the round of church suppers in the city where I live, and it is really hard to look at someone, oftentimes younger than I am, who is not completely in the room with me because they're on heroin, and convince them that they should care about my half-price spinach. It's as I'm adorned in all of the privilege that I wear in front of them, it's exhausting and humbling, and I don't know how we're ever going to get past some of those things. But I'm inspired always, at the end of the day, I tell myself that it's just food, and that everybody deserves access to food, and it's about actions and not stereotypes. And if you are high on heroin and you want 2 cucumbers, I am happy to give you 2 cucumbers. Or if you come to my market and I think you're probably gaming me for some of our incentives this week, at the end of the day, I don't really care, because it's just food. And if you want to come here and get food to feed yourself or your family, I am not going to begrudge you a couple heads of lettuce or a squash or even the cider donut that we might have at the market that way. So when I come back to that simple piece, that it's always just about food and everybody deserves access to good, healthy, local food, those problems don't matter so much anymore in the moment.
The mothers that we've had at different sites have come back to us and said, I made this, I made that, my family loved this, my family loved that. But one of the things that I didn't understand when I wrote the grant originally was the population of WIC mothers that exist within the Waterbury public school system and must exist in every other large city. They're not talked about, okay? They're not spoken for, but they're 14 to 18-year-olds, emancipated minors. I know that we've made a difference when at the end of the session, a girl who's graduating, who's going to be going off on her own, is hugging us because We've given her some of the most basic skills because she doesn't have any female role model. She's emancipated. She's on her own. She doesn't know whether or not to turn on a stove, to saute, to do anything. She doesn't even have the implements. We've given them training, food, and we've solicited campaigns throughout some of the banks in our city to get cooking utensils, things that the EBT card won't pay for, things that are not on their radar screen. We've made essentially a little bridal package to give them because they're going off into a world that's unknown. It's a future that is dark, they're scared, and we're trying to do that much more to give them a bit of self-reliance for themselves and for their children. These are kids with kids. So that was one of the most impactful things that we've seen out of this program.
Well, I like growing food. I think at the scale that we're doing it at, I know the kids enjoy it. It's hard work, but it has many rewards. When I say that it would be a system of justice, what I mean is that maybe we would exist, maybe we wouldn't. I think that there's a lot of opportunity, even in our city, for no one to have to be going to school hungry. At this point in time, in 2016, I don't think in this country or even around the world, that shouldn't be the reality. But in Springfield, Massachusetts, I know there are thousands of kids going to school every day that are hungry. And so justice would mean that wouldn't be the thing that would be happening. It would mean that when people wanted to look to fresh food as an option, they wouldn't have to drive 2 miles to get to where a location to where they can purchase the food. It could mean farmers markets, every day. It could mean delivery services every day. It could mean just a supermarket that serves fresh local food in the neighborhood I live in. So those are the things that I'm talking about. Whether or not I would have a job, I think I'm pretty smart, so I think I'd be able to make something happen for myself. But just in terms of the general mission of our organization, I would hope that in the future it would reflect one in which where we wouldn't have to be up against such a big wall in terms of people feeding and being able to not be hungry.